Hello everybody. In this video today, you're going to learn how to work and correct data inside your SuiteCRM system. Specifically, we're going to look into how to edit and update one data record. And additionally, we're going to look into batch processing of records. That is, we're checking out how to use the mass update feature, how to use imports for updating and correcting data, and how to do something directly in the database. My name is Bastian Hammer, your go-to expert when it comes to all things CRM, e-commerce, marketing automation, and sales integration. Okay, so let's go. I assume that you've got your SuiteCRM system up and running, you're working with the data, and you've got your processes implemented into your SuiteCRM system. Now, let's look into how you can most efficiently correct or update or change data. Let's start with a simple standard case. So you want to change and edit one record. So in order to do this, maybe, for example, we're opening up that one here, and this record we called or we emailed or something, and we found out that the name is Erika, for instance. And now that we're already working with this one, the lead is not assigned anymore, but at the moment it's in process. And I would simply click on save, and I'm done. And we have the updated data inside our list view, inside our CRM system. Fairly well. So that's the standard. That's how we usually used to work with the CRM system. But what if you have multiple things, multiple records that you need to update? Then this method of updating stuff becomes very troublesome, very annoying. So in order to do this in a better way, you have a couple of options here. Let's just assume you've got some personal change, or you've got some business processes where stuff is being handed over from one person to another person. So therefore, you would try to filter and select exactly the right records, and you would go ahead after filtering and select those records. So this one is a selection of all records, means like all the pages here, which doesn't work for the feature with the update, with the mass update. But if you select only this page, for instance, then you can use a bulk action. And I'm checking again. What I want to do now is the user is the admin. Now I want to assign it to the user, not to the admin anymore. So therefore I click here on bulk action and I do mass update. In this case, you need to be a bit careful, because if you click on mass update and if you do this here, then it will definitely start placing the data that you specified here into your CRM system, into your records. So you need to be careful, especially with things like these. So do not call, yes, no. Basically, I don't want to do this one, and I don't want to do this one converted as well. So I don't care about those at the moment. The only thing that I want to care or do care about is that I change the owner of this one from Suite Admin into Suite User. So that's what I want to do. Therefore, I'm going ahead and keep the form as it is and press on Submit. Are you sure you want to update the records? So you need to be careful here, because that's really happening now. Therefore, I click on Proceed. And we're good. We have just updated those records and associated it with another user. So that's one thing that you can do on how to go ahead and change data. But maybe not all changes are possible. As you can see, it's usually just possible for like one page of your results or of your filters. If you have other things, or if you have like larger examples, if you need to do more complex operations than just switch a user or something, then sometimes it makes sense to export the data, change it in Excel, and re-import it into your SuiteCRM system. So one example is the following. Check this one out. So country, USA. Now I'm searching and I found 200 records. Now I'm comparing this to the United States, and you can see it's almost 2,000 records. And this tells me that from some sources the data is probably just wrong. In our case, yeah, okay, I did like two different imports, one standard import from SuiteCRM during the installation, and the other import was later on via mockup data, and the mockup data had a different country name for the US. So this could happen in like all sorts of varieties, maybe with city names, maybe with state names, maybe even with like lowercase, uppercase. So one thing that is for a human, one thing is different things for the computer. So if you do like some reports or whatever, and then you will have skewed data and your reports will just be wrong. And yeah, so therefore you want to have the data correctly. What you can do here is, for instance, I would now use the 200 because I know that was the initial load. It will not happen again, but the United States could be that are doing those loads again. So I need to change my data there. And one way of doing is the following. I'm going back to my 200, which are wrong. And I again click on select all 200. So even if you show just parts of it, you want to select all of them, and I export those. Now I export those into leads CSV. So here we've got a CSV file, and I click on OK. And now we have to be very careful. So working with CSV data, you can potentially destroy a lot already by opening that file. So in Microsoft Excel, you would now go and create a new file, like an empty sheet, and then click on data and then import data from file. And then you would need to have like this importer that you run through. I'm using LibreOffice. In my opinion, it's much smarter when it comes down to CSV files. There's just one issue. If you have something which is a number, let's say the postal code, and the postal code potentially starts with a 0, because in Germany they can, then it will just strip the 0 away because it believes it's a number. So what I always have to do is switch this one to text, and if it's a text, the 0, the prepending 0, will not be stripped away, and everything should be correct. You can see additionally here the primary address country, which is the wrong stuff. And now we're going to correct it. Now for imports, use data sparingly. That means like here's our wrong data. Okay, now we want to import this and make it correct. I first of all don't need all those columns. So that's the first thing that I do, because let's just go through it, because there are only a couple of things which are really required. That is the last name, and this is just like a system requirement because the last name is a required field by SuiteCRM. You can't import without having this one in place. Then I keep the ID as well. That's a unique identifier in order to be able to update later on my records in the CRM system. The importer can use the ID here. And then I basically don't need anything but my corrected data. And this could be several columns if you want to correct several columns at the same time, but it might as well be just this one column. So therefore I'm going and delete everything here to the right. That has several reasons. One reason is simply use sparingly. So you could potentially override something that you don't want to override. It could be whilst I'm doing this one, somebody else is working, or something else like integrations, workflows, schedulers, working on the data, changing the data. Then I'm uploading my stuff, and overwrite the correct data of the with the past wrong data or again. So that's what we want to avoid. United States. Additionally, it could be that you have data inside your audit protocol, and then I am updating some data from A to A or something, even though there's no need to update it, was always correct. Even then, I should just not update it because there's absolutely no reason. So therefore, use it always sparingly. And again, be very, very careful here as well, because if you have like a pre-pending space, it is yet another country than United States, because United States space is different from United States. So be extremely careful on the data, control it very well, make sure that everything fits perfectly, and then yeah, it's no problem at all. You can gladly do this, it works well, and you will be able to save a lot of work by working with imports, with batch processing stuff. So now I've created my leads file. Let's just assume I want to go back to the source file so I don't override it. I usually call this one here import and then CSV. Now again, here I find it much easier in LibreOffice, so you can just edit filter settings, and you could potentially do something here like character seg, field delimiter, string delimiter. In this case, it's kind of easier. We don't have to go through that, but there are some cases where you have like special signs or whatever, and you need to really take care of this one here. But in this case, it's simple, and we can proceed. What I like to do now is to open this with an editor to really look in the data, not like the Excel representation or like the interpretation of my data, but really what's inside. So here I can see it's my header. I've got 3 columns, all columns are with quotes enclosed, and this is how the pattern continues all over the rest of the records. Very well. So that looks perfectly fine to me. What you can additionally do now, so sometimes if I have huge imports, like a couple of thousand records, then I do a test import first. So I simply go ahead, copy this one here into 00 and then into 01. For the 00, I would go and open it again, not with Excel, it's too confusing or too slow. I would simply remove this one and import only one row. And now you can either reverse or like make a restore of the situation before the import later on in the CRM system, or I can simply delete the first row of the second import. That means my test data, I can control it, and I don't have to re-import the test data itself. Works either way. In Zoho CRM, I like to restore the situation before because it's just working easily. Here in SuiteCRM, if it's already imported and it worked fine, then why not just keep it there? It's kind of a habit by now. So now we've got the leads. I'm back here in the system, and what I want to do now is I want to import my test lead. First of all, I want to see the old data, and then I can later on update it. Let's see whether we can find Nelms, Dora Nelms. I believe it's this one here. Now again, to be very careful, you can check the IDs here. 1162, and I open this again. 1162, hopefully, exactly. So that's the same record. And if I import this one here now, it should correct my wrong USA country to the right United States country. So let's go ahead and give it a try. How to import and how to specifically import without duplicates. Check out my other video on this one to see in detail how you can work around some issues. But here for us, now we don't focus on duplicate, we focus on data correction, and therefore we should be all good and can just select our leads import 00, which would be the first load that we're going to do now. Now, we've got a couple of different options here: records, create new records, or update existing ones and create new ones. So it kind of speaks for itself. Create new ones, then it kind of ignores my ID column and it would just create. It requires the last name because it's a system requirement field, and if it should update as well, then there needs to be a unique identifier like an ID for matching. Now it tells me what you have selected to update the process, updates and so on and so on, cannot be undone. So last name, now I see a preview of my import file, and this is always a good sign. So if you see this one already and it looks kind of good, that you can recognize the structure from your Excel file, you're halfway there already. In case it's not exactly what you expect, either go back to your Excel or LibreOffice calculator or calc and do the filter settings, check as well the CSV file that has been exported by the software, and see whether you need to change anything in order to match this one here. So we've got a header row, we've got the fields delimiter, which is a comma, and maybe there's a time format inside. So we don't have this also. For us it's pretty easy now, but you can go in depth and really try to do some troubleshooting with this one here. So there are some if you want to import from Salesforce or from Outlook, you've got some pre-configured profiles, but we don't do this at the moment, so I skip this one as well. Now we need to do the mapping. Mapping is important because here you tell the importer this column inside my Excel file or CSV file should be mapped to that column inside my CRM system and database. Last name, and this matches so properly because we did an export of the CRM and I kept all the column names as they were. ID, and you see a preview again, and primary address country is the primary address country, and here we've got the United States. So what you could do now, I sometimes do this, but if you have to run multiple imports on the same data structure, then it makes more sense to have this one inside the Excel already. You could add another field and maybe have like whichever you want to, let's say they all should be like do not call or something, and then you could add one field here on the fly basically. But I would rather prefer to do this in Excel itself. Now, duplicates, as I said, we don't do duplicate checks at the moment. There are some options here. We'll go into details in another video. And I can save my import settings. That makes sense if you have not like those beautiful default values that we did now, but you had to reconfigure because it comes from a specific source. And the source is always the same because you're buying lead data from that specific source, and then it makes sense to have like this import setting here as well. So I had exactly this case in one project where we had to configure like 2 or 3 different import profiles for those different import or like lead sources. But okay, that's good. I click on import now. The import will go through, and ideally, you see like there's one record update successfully, and you've got 0 created records and 0 duplicates, 0 errors. So that's how it should look like. So now this here, Dora Nelps, she was my wrong country lead, and I'm going to duplicate this tab now here. And as you can see, now she moved to the United States from the USA. So therefore, this is exactly what we wanted to have. Now we've got correct data, and I can use this data field in order to identify my, to build my reports and identify my numbers correctly. Okay, to the next one. Now it's getting a bit more technical. We'll have to look into the database itself and be very, very careful here. If you do simple selects, you would usually not break anything, but with an update, you potentially can destroy everything. So if you do updates and you're not completely certain that it is a small one or you know exactly what you're doing, take backups. Anyway, take backups always, and then do this process here, not before that. Okay, so there's one data issue. It's more cosmetics than anything else, but we can still take care of it. It's inside our leads. And let's go to the leads table. It's here. So I figured out that inside the leads table at the very end, so there was this standard field called website. As you can see, this website has at the import no protocol. So that's a bit odd, or it just doesn't look very good because it's lacking of something. So here I put my website inside for demo purposes. Let's open this lead inside our SuiteCRM system. So we can easily do this. It's the ID. It's definitely the ID from the lead itself. I randomly open any lead and I can replace the ID here. And now you can see here I got my website. But as you see, it doesn't work properly because if you check the very bottom left, you can see the target is just on this SuiteCRM demo and then / in a subfolder. But this is not correct. So we need to add the protocol here. So in order to do this, we need to prepend the string, the protocol string, in front of the string of the website. And that is a bit difficult. You can do it with Excel, so just like we did before. You can export them all and then filter where you want to prepend something. And yeah, it works, but it works nicer sometimes if you just do it in the database, and if you're a bit tech savvy and you're not afraid of it, then you can do this here as well. So select everything from leads where, and then ID equals, and now I want to select by this ID. First, I go and filter very careful by those things that I really want to update, just like the first time we did the import, that we only do one for testing whether it works. And then I can remove the ID later on and do it for everything if this worked properly. So, but now I want to filter some more details which are related to the website. So I want to filter only those which have something in the filter and where the filter doesn't contain our protocol string. So that would be an and then website is not empty. And I add something else where the website not like, and now I use this one here, %. So where the website is not like % for any character, and then our protocol, the part of the protocol, and then followed by any character. So this should not happen. That means like everything where the website has something inside but is missing of a protocol, basically translated. And as you can see, it correctly found this one lead and it worked out. So later on I can be confident if I do this one here, or if I do the update from it, it should be working for all of it. So now that the select is working and we get exactly this one record, the update should working just accordingly. So in order to update, I can just say update leads, exactly, leads, and then set website equals. And now I have to write down what I want to set the website value to. And here I just do a concatenate, and I go ahead and add the protocol. And here it's up to me whether I do HTTP or the SSL version. Mostly HTTP would redirect to SSL if it exists, but if non-existing SSL, or if there's problems with it, then it will just not redirect, but will show me a problem in the browser. So I would concatenate this with the website. So that looks good so far. I remove the select here. Then I've got my updates leads at website. Just quickly double check it. That looks good so far. Then I run this whole thing. One data set has been updated. And now, as you can see again here, that's the non-updated version. I hit F5 for updating this one here. And now I've got the HTTP pre-pended. And now, as you can see, bottom left, it will redirect, or like it will open my website in a new tab as well. So there are plenty of advantages and disadvantages of doing this via the database right away. You won't have the bean, which is like the object in the background and the back end of SuiteCRM. It's not being saved. That is, if you have workflows, that should be triggered if you update something. If you have something in the timeline that should show here, it all won't show up, because in this way you're editing data directly in the database, and the bean or like the CRM system backend will not notice it. Other than that, you can be creative with your SQL statements. It's quite complex what you can do with it. So therefore, if you prefer it in this way, make sure you know what you're doing, test it on small data sets, and if this is correct, go for it and update in the database. I would use it sparingly. Usually I try not to, but sometimes if you have like large amounts of data that need to be updated, it's just only working via the database properly. Okay, let's quickly recap. We have seen how to update data in your SuiteCRM system. The standard way of opening one record and updating, changing, and saving it again. Of course, that always works. Then we have used the mass update feature in case you want to change some values, which you can most comfortably do via the list view inside your module itself. If you have a bit more complex data to work with, or you prefer Excel in order to enrich your data or to change your data, you can do this as well via an export and later on an import again into your SuiteCRM system. And the last resort, if you want to make changes on big amounts of data, maybe like 500,000, 1 million or larger, and it will just not work properly or easily via the other methods, then you can always go to your database and do the updates there directly. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.